As one of the greatest musicians to have ever lived, Elton John has secured his place in history by being knighted. Although he has always been in the spotlight, he is renowned for more than simply his songs. His sexual orientation, for a variety of causes. Elton's sexual orientation has been prominently portrayed in the media. After coming out as bisexual in 1974 and gradually identifying as gay, he has been in and out of marriages and partnerships. But after all these years, one marriage from this time of clashing values has resurfaced and haunted him more than before. Renate Blow, his ex-wife whom he married in 1984, is the nightmare. They first crossed paths in 1983, while Elton was finishing up Too Low for Zero, his 17th studio album. I'm Still Standing was one of his hit tracks from the album. I suppose that's why it's referred to as Religion and the Blues. His love of music captivated Renate, who thought that it was similar to her own feelings about her work as a recording engineer. Despite the fact that he was from England and enjoyed the attention, and she was from Germany and preferred to remain out of the spotlight, their disparate personalities drew each other in and led to their becoming close friends. They soon discovered that they were spending more time together as their friendship grew. Because of his drug addiction and his breakup with an aggressive ex-boyfriend, who left him with a bad taste in his mouth when it came to loving people of his own gender, Elton had been at war with himself, which is why they got so close. Elton was also having issues with his sexuality at this time. Additionally, he was still in the queer phase, doing his best to persuade himself that he could be in a straight relationship because of his ex. Elton was using his relationship as a social cover to conceal his true feelings, while Renate was infatuated. However, their relationship quickly developed into a serious one, and on February 10, 1984, on the Australian leg of his most recent tour, Elton proposed to Renate, who gladly accepted. Unfortunately, though, the two were getting married for quite different reasons. Elton because he was frantically attempting to fall in love, and Renate because she was in love. This choice appeared to be made out of love and extravagant gestures. Valentine's Day fell on their wedding date, giving everyone the impression that the couple was highlighting their love and commitment to one another. Additionally, their wedding was a lavish event with some of the most expensive and high-end decorations, entertainment, food, and beverages. To highlight how they had sacrificed everything for one another, the wedding took place at St. Mark's Church, which was located in Sydney, Australia's Darling Point neighborhood, and was separate from both of their home countries. Many family members, acquaintances, and admirers believed that Elton had found his true love during the lavish event. Renate wore a heart-shaped pendant with 63 diamonds that Elton had given her, and she looked stunning in an opulent white Linka Siak dress. However, beneath the surface, hazardous things were simmering, and the unfortunate concoction was gradually approaching the point of explosion. As it happened, Elton's anxiety was increasing, and he was doubting his choice more than ever. Renate also had a suspicion that her spouse was not quite right. However, they both acted as though everything was fine to save face after all the costs. But the cracks started to show as soon as the festivities were finished, and they were at last by themselves. The first time this happened was during their honeymoon, which should have been a time of joy for a married couple, but ended up being a nightmare for both of them. This is due to the fact that Elton was at last starting to recognize the serious error he had committed in attempting to pursue a relationship with a man he was clearly unable to love as a husband. While they were away, he was in a panic and told Renate that he did not think their marriage would work and that it would be best if they parted ways. Renate felt as though the universe she had created was coming crashing down after such a terrible confession, particularly so soon after the lavish event that had been their wedding. Renate was at a loss for what to do. She didn't want to break up with him, but she also didn't want to live a life of suffering. She turned to a bottle of Valium to make herself numb because she was devastated and bewildered. While her husband remained silent, oblivious to the extent of her suffering, the newlywed wife attempted suicide during their honeymoon. Undoubtedly, the honeymoon was a major warning sign that the marriage would not work out. However, for complex reasons, the couple chose to remain together for a further 4 years, each of them denying the reality of their relationship and the negative effects it was having on their mental health. Almost nobody knew what was going on behind closed doors, because their relationship was largely private and out of the spotlight. Everyone didn't realize what had been going on until the premiere of Elton's biopic Rocketman. Renate and Elton are shown in the film as two people who truly love one another, but in a depressing, twisted way, not as though one requires the other's affection. Their marriages are rocky, and they sleep in different beds. Furthermore, it appears that the circumstances were the same during their marriage, because Elton himself stated that the film was truth-based and alarmingly accurate in portraying him. After 4 years of a tender but painful connection, they decided to get a divorce because, of course, their relationship could not continue as it was. A provision in their divorce forbade them from ever again discussing their marriage, or the reasons behind its dissolution in public. Despite having previously said that he was bisexual, Elton also came out as gay shortly after, sparking contentious debates regarding the reasons behind their breakup. Furthermore, they did not communicate with one another for years after the divorce, despite their best efforts to pretend that it was mutually agreed upon, and that they would continue to be close friends. And after a contentious legal battle, they publicly reconciled at last. The cause was Elton John's official book, and the previously stated biographical film Rocketman. His married life with Renate was depicted in the film, and he discussed all that had transpired between them in his book, including the proposal, their marriage, and its fallout. He explained that he had been insane when he proposed to her, believing that he had slept with men for the previous 14 years of his life, because he might not have found the proper lady. He then revealed several other outdated facts about their marriage for everyone to read, including the fact that they had not even shared a kiss when he proposed. Renate was so upset by this that she finally spoke up, going to court to sue Elton for £3 million for violating the divorce agreement of quiet and reliving her past trauma, which caused her mental health problems to flare up again. She was understandably upset and furious, and the legal struggle continued for a while, before the two agreed to resolve their disagreement outside of court, ending the acrid legacy of their marriage. Despite everything, Elton continued to talk positively about her, admitting that he was the cause of the disturbance, and feeling deeply bad about betraying the confidence and affection of someone who was still extremely important to him, but not romantically. Even though their union wasn't meant to be since he was living a lie, he called Renate the most elegant lady he had ever encountered. After his recent trip to Australia, Elton, who is now 70 years old, came to several realizations. He shared on Instagram how his trip to Australia had reminded him of the woman he loved and admired so much. He talked about how much he had wanted to be a good husband to Renate. He had forgotten how to be a decent friend and not to get her involved with him in the first place. In order to be worthy of someone's love, he said, you must be brave and clear-eyed enough to face the reality for both you and your spouse. Transparency and honesty come first. Elton is currently wed to David Furnish, the true love of his life, and the couple has 2 children together. Above all, it's crucial to live your truth, but you also need to be careful not to offend people you care about. Regarding Elton John's connection with his ex-wife, Renate B., what are your thoughts? Tell us in the space provided below.